Welcome, everyone, to this week's Star Report. This is Jason here at New Dimensions and New Dimensions, Crystals, and Reiki in downtown Vernon, Texas. And today's report is for July the 9th through July the 15th, 2025. And of course, the sun is sunning all the time. And so the sun currently, we have a coronal hole that is Earth facing. We should expect the plasma stream, which comes out of that hole, to arrive sometime over the weekend. But when the magnetic lock starts to happen, then we have an uptick in volcanic activity. So pay attention if you're close to volcanoes. And of course, with the general transit of the poles and all that fun stuff, there is a continued increase activity in volcanoes, right? So look for that, not just when the sun is doing sun weather that causes it, but the general nature of the weakening magnetic field around the Earth to allow compression to sort of work its way with that. But also, as the Earth begins to cool because of snowmelt and the AMORC slowing down or reversing. And then, of course, we just have evidence that the current down around Antarctica is reversing. So that means colder climates. And so when that ice sort of comes off of stuff, then there's more room for the volcanoes to volcano. So yeah, if you live next to any kind of volcanoes, pay attention to that. We currently don't have any sunspots which are affecting the planet adversely right now. There is a large sunspot group on the incoming limb of or left side of the sun, if you want to be non-technical about it. And so that's something to pay attention to. That should be Earth facing by the weekend. And so, yeah, the sun is basically less low energy than it was last week, but everything's just sort of a persistent thing, right? And of course, when we have coronal holes, physically, we're going to feel a little bit of compression. And then sometimes, especially with the added or the depleting protection from cosmic stuff, you might want to pay attention to heart palpitations. And if you have any kind of maladies that go along with the heart, pay attention to those. Could be affected by cosmic weather. We are currently, speaking of the sun, in the sun sign of Cancer, and that is going to alchemically relate physically in our form to our breast, stomach, and spleen. Right. So if you're having a little bit of adjustment in your gut biome, or you're having a different appetite for different foods, that would be something to pay attention to. Spleen, of course, right here in the left rib cage, is what filters your blood, but also metaphysically, that sort of contains a lot of the negativity that you're around, right? So if you sort of feel a little pain or a little bit sluggish, maybe don't watch a whole bunch of negativity on the internet or the television. Does people still watch television? Still watch television? I guess they might. But just sort of pay attention to that. Yeah. And let's see, retrograde. Currently, we are in Pluto and Neptune retrograde. Pluto's really going to sort of allow you to see some deep hidden things. Sometimes it's emotional triggers. Sometimes it's deep understandings of what you are, what and who you are at your core. And so being in retrograde gives us a chance to sort of rewrite that story, right? If we're building from the ground up, right, we got to discover what the foundation is. So sometimes if you're living in a place and the foundation isn't what you thought it was, and sort of explains like, hey, this is why this isn't working, or this is shifted. So pay attention to Pluto being retrograde. We're also currently in Neptune retrograde. And Neptune is really going to be about our spiritual core. Who are we? What is our who is our operating system that has created this physical form to have this experience in this now? You want to pay attention to spiritual awakenings during Neptune retrograde, and also you want to pay attention to heightened intuition. I was like, hey, I'm trying to logically think about this, but heightened intuition, right? So if you're starting to feel like your gut or your intuition is heightened, that's a good thing. And during these sort of periods when you're sort of at your core, right, it's your core operating system sort of trying to reestablish itself, right? So if you're having these epiphanies and they're not necessarily lining up with your current what you're currently doing, that's sort of your inner core saying, hey, if you just sort of right the ship this way or that way. We will be in another retrograde, and I'll mention that when I get there by the end of the week. And so that'll be 3 retrogrades, 3 planets. And of course, we're currently in pre-shadow of Mercury retrograde. So if you're having communication and technology problems, travel problems, then that would be par for the course with what sort of happens electromagnetically on the planet when Mercury goes on retrograde. Leads us to today, Wednesday, um, July the 9th. What? July the 9th? Yeah, it is July the 9th. Today, Wednesday, July the 9th. And really the planet that is affecting us most is really going to be Mars. And Mars is really sort of that ability, that fortitude to become comfortable with these things we're discovering about ourselves, right? Um, I know sometimes as a guy who likes to be right, when I sort of realized I was slightly wrong or like sort of like singing a song lyric wrong for 30 years, right? It's that sort of kind of correction where there's a whole lot of time in. And so it takes a lot of fortitude to readjust or to admit or to move past an error or to correct that error. And so that energy is what's really going on with today. And so sometimes when you discover stuff like that and you have to shift things, it becomes difficult and we might be out of effort in the cosmic weather might not necessarily be conducive to us actually doing that change, but this is where we sort of have to have that focus and that fortitude. And I wrote down here, embrace the suck, kind of a military term, right? It's going to be, if it's going to be hard, you might as well embrace it. And then it becomes more of a challenge and less of a burden. So pay attention to that today, Wednesday. Leads us into tomorrow, Thursday, July the 10th, where we begin our full moon. So full moon in Capricorn. And this is about mastering what you truly are and sort of purging what you're not, right? So we know that the moon extracts energy, right? When you're in moonlight, it's cooler than when you're in moon shade. And so we want to think about that cleansing effort, right? So get your crystals out in the moon or next to the moon. It doesn't have to be outdoors. But sort of pay attention to that energy of when you sort of see who you are and sort of master that. A lot of the things that's keeping us from mastery is we've added things that aren't part of the plan, which are holding us back. That could be habits, that could be people, that could be locations where we live. So pay attention to that. And really, one of the things to sort of do Thursday and into Friday, if you like, over the 2 days is sort of make a list of decisions of long-term goals, right? Not just what do you want to get done this week or what do you want to get done this month, but like what are you actually working for? Is it a retirement? Is it finally creating a book? Is it, going to the certain vacation and seeing ancestors or a holy place or something like that? Right? You want to map out that long-term decision over the next couple of days. Because the energy of this moon in Capricorn is really going to have lasting effects, which leads us into Friday. Also the moon, Friday the 11th of July. And you really want to sort of spend that first day sort of like what are you clearing out of the way? And then if you have a whole lot of things out of the way and you're still sort of having a lot of things left over, then you want to use sort of Friday to use that sort of moonlight. You want to use Friday for that moonlight to show you the things that you should focus on, right? If you want to do a ritual or a meditation, you might want to sort of pick those sort of things up and place them on a table and sort of see which one of those things the moon might highlight as areas of focus that are going to be most beneficial to getting to those long-term goals that you decide on Thursday. And of course, this isn't like a brand new thing. Maybe it is, but this is sort of like a refinement. This is kind of like finding a better way to meditate or realizing that a certain sitting position works better and it didn't work the first time but now it's like optimal for you, or a workout or a diet or blah blah blah. It's those sort of things that you're already working on. This is a refinement if you've already done it, so it doesn't have to be go back to step one. This is just sort of like as a current being understanding things that you discover about yourself that have been there all along, seeing the things that have kept you from being that as the main thing, and then work on it. Yeah, that sounds like a good Thursday and Friday. Moves us into Saturday, July the 12th, 2025. Saturn is slowing down. So Saturn's going to slow down over Saturday and Sunday and go into retrograde. And so Saturn in Aries, you're going to feel a cycle of sorts. So think back to 1999 and everything that's transpired in your life since then. I'm assuming most people that are listening to this who were born before 1999 and have an awareness of that, but maybe not. That's 25 years. So, um, what have you missed over the past 25 years? What's been lacking? What did you start with? What sort of highlight that you can sort of trace back to 1999 and what you thought you were going to do, where you are, and sort of what that missing piece is? Um, really, when you sort of discover that, you're going to discover that you can sort of, with Neptune, which is already in retrograde, you can sort of use that energy to dissolve those things of why you couldn't, why you didn't, and a lot of times shame and disappointment, or oh man, I can't believe I didn't know, that kind of energy pops up. So just sort of look for that to be smoothed out, and you to be able to find your focus, which leads us into Sunday when Saturn goes full retrograde. And it'll be there for the next 5 months, right? And so it's really going to help you highlight your purpose. What are you doing here? And a lot of times this is like, what are we doing here, despite what it looks like of the environment in which we live in, and the culture in which we participate might be shifting to things unknown, right? So what's your purpose? Because that purpose remains the same and is for all times, right? So even if everything around you is changing, your core is supposed to be this energy, this information, this process, this purpose, all through those things. And so, how can you sort of anchor back to that? Right? And so, you want to sort of think of this too as sort of like, you're putting roots into what you are, so that you don't shift with the extremities of the change that we're watching in our outer world, sometimes in our inner world too. Blah blah blah. Neptune is going to really be clearing the illusion, and Saturn is really going to be anchoring the reality into physical form, right? And so if reality seems to shift, that might have meant it was illusion before. So pay attention on Sunday. Leads us into Monday, July 14th. Saturn and Pluto are really going to be acting together to stabilize emotions and visions, right? So if you feel like you're losing your shit with everything that's going on, or just the pace of which it's happening, or the rediscovery or awakening of the self, right? Sometimes it's an oh shit, like you're on a roller coaster. This is really going to sort of stabilize that, where you're just sort of allowed to enjoy the joy, the excitement, and really embrace the hard parts as kind of like a workout, right? You're getting stronger, you're becoming more because you're moving through those things. And the question sort of popping up on Monday is really going to be, who are you before the world told you who you should be? Good question. Good question. Who was I before the world told me what I was supposed to be? Moves us into Tuesday, July the 15th, 2025, 22 Master Day. We always like that. That just means that the energy is really there for shifting and control. You want to think of this, if you're a computer programmer, this is opening up the master screen and sort of making the programs run right. So you get to master what's happening rather than be controlled by it. And also, the moon's north node, which is, I believe, in Pisces, it is uh, giving you a sort of true awareness, right? In at the end of this age of Pisces, what are you aware of? What is your purpose? What is your true calling? And so it's really sort of an awakening week. It might seem like an intense week. The thing that sort of makes it difficult is um, all of this high energy that the sun's doing, and the low Earth magnetic field protection is doing, it is just sort of giving a whole lot of extra energy to the system. So this is almost like you're discovering what your car can do, but all of a sudden somebody put super gas in it, and so every little thing has a lot of effect. And so sometimes that's a little bit overwhelming, and you feel like you're driving a car that's out of control and too fast. But this is really a sort of a regulation phase where you can sort of just get into that and be like, I get it, I understand, right? I can drive. I can drive this skin suit. I can drive this consciousness through what this is, and I can have the awareness that I need, the safety that I need, and the power to accomplish what that is. I think that's everything. Yep. Yeah, I should be in the shop all week. I'll if you're not going to see this, I'll be gone and back hopefully by the time I actually post this. But I do have an appointment this morning before the shop opens, so I should be back relatively soon after 11 a.m. But if not, if you miss me, I'll be back. But otherwise, I'll be in the shop all week, 11 to 5, Wednesday through Saturday. Of course, if you want to go to dimensionscrystals.com and book a session, you're welcome to do so. Usually, I haven't really denied any appointments in the 5 years I've been open. But usually, if I'm available, you should be able to go online and book it. That's just uses Square to do that. So just go on and pick one of the sessions that you might think might help. And of course, if you're looking for a tarot reading, those are usually walk in while I'm here during business hours. And of course, we'll squeeze you in between other retail customers. Just be patient. I think that's everything. Pretty sure that's everything. That's all I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to find a little button that tells me stop. And then I'm going to say until next time, everybody. Many blessings.